Hello. Welcome to the fourth week final training. I think it's the final training, but if something pops up in my energy or if something else needs to come in, I'm very much open to receiving that for this week. But I wanted to say thank you all so much for being a part of this Empower Your Resilience program and any future trainings this may be on. Um, Sorry, I have an itch. um, okay, so scripting from the future. There's a couple things that you may be excited about. So don't forget to get your journal, paper out, or whatever you do to write things down. Okay, scripting from the future is a couple things. Uh, Reason why this works is because you're basically stepping into the future self of you, the you that you wanted to be, or you do want to be. And this is a little tricky, but this is a way for your brain to actually get behind what you want. It actually also helps you step into the resilience and the confidence that you really desire in any outcome that you want. So say if I'm stepping into the future me, okay, this might be a little heady, so bear with me. So if you are talking to yourself, okay, hi, I'm Jen. Hi, Jen. Nice to meet you. We know each other for like 40 plus years. And we'll probably know each other for the rest of our years. So get to used to this face. And you can do that to yourself. But I'm kind of demonstrating. So it's not an introduction per se. It is and it isn't. It's stepping into this identity of this person that you want to be, and you're talking to yourself from the future. So, not just talking to yourself in the future, this future self of yours, say this very empowered, very dynamic, very resilient person that you are from the future, dun dun dun, can talk to you in multiple ways. You can write a letter to yourself on all the things that you wanted to accomplish. And I say wanted, but if you've already accomplished in the future, and what does that look like? So if you wanted to have a thriving business, what does that look like? Does that look um regular clients, a steady stream of income of like 30, 50, 60, $100,000? So when you're writing this letter to yourself at present, you're basically telling yourself all the wonderful things that have happened. And also, you can also tell the story on how some of it got there. Now, the story of the scripting to or from, really from your future self, is twofold. It is to help you get behind the possibilities of this future, because right now, if you're not living that future, it's very challenging sometimes to think about that future. So you're kind of playing the game. It's supposed to be fun. Okay, it's not supposed to be serious. Just because you write it down doesn't mean it's going to happen, but it can mean it's going to happen. There's more likelihood if you are feeling the feelings of being that person from the future. You're basically taking that future self and bringing them to here. And if this is a little weird, it is a little more advanced work in this area. But if, say, you want a relationship and you're not in one yet, you're stepping into the person that already has the love and the relationship status and what that relationship looks like. So if you want a loving relationship, you're already feeling that love from a significant other. You're already feeling what it feels like to have conversations and live with or experience going out to dinner and doing all those things. You're living from that space because you're bringing that person to the present moment. Writing it down tends to help. That's why the letter from the future is kind of important. It's helpful for some if visualization and like stepping into that energy, but all of it's the same. It's just how to get your brain wrapping around how that future self is really you now and or in the future. And so if you're looking, like, the whole point of all this is confidence and resilience. The confident you would be like, yeah, I can talk to people. Yeah, that's not a problem. Yeah, me and my relationship's great. I love my clients. My business is growing really well. I really appreciate all of your interest in that. Uh, I'm really resilient. I don't, I can move through things fairly quickly now when I'm having a low moment because I'm human, and I'm really my resilience is pretty strong. So when I have a hiccup at work, or I have a hiccup at in my business, or I have a hiccup with my relationships, it's a hiccup and not a Mount Everest event. um, so I don't know if this is landing yet, and please comment below when you watch this, or comment where I have a comment box, because this, and I'm looking at my notes. This is why I keep looking down. When you're stepping into this future self, this scripting, this type of scripting, it's to help you embody the feelings of that and experience in the present that has already occurred in the future. If you don't like it calling like talking to your future self, it's sometimes easier because right now, if you're not in a space where you believe something is possible, thinking from the end of that experience of having it helps you feel those feelings. So if you're not feeling very confident as a day-to-day thing, depending on what you're wanting confidence for, what is the imaginary feeling of confidence? What does it feel like to you? And guaranteed, if you're on planet Earth, you felt confident in the past and or presently, like when you're making some food, or you're making coffee or tea, or like there's no doubt in that experience. You know how to do it. There's no second guessing. There's not a lot of mental turmoil or trauma or drama around making coffee. So technically you're confident. It feels natural. It feels easy. There's not a lot of hoopla around it. The same as when you're confident in communicating with other people, is that there's not a lot of hoopla. It's really as a natural state as possible. So when we're talking to the future self of having the thing that you want, whether it be more money or just more friends or whatever, it's like it's natural. And embodying that naturalness, embodying that future self, is part of the getting your mind wrapped around what it feels like to feel more happy, feel more content, feeling that future self. If it's 5 years, 10 years, 6 months from now, the 6 month you now, okay, this might get a little wonky. 6 months ago, you were not the same person as you are today. 6 months from now, you're not going to be the same person as that you are today. The future person, ideally, has the thoughts, feelings, beliefs that you always wanted and or you're working on building now. That person also has things that you do not have now in physical terms. So in 6 months from now, or a year from now, you will have more friends. You will have be actively in your business. There won't be a lot of hiccup because it will be natural. The brain likes to get tripped up on all the things in the middle, like the how, or what will it look like. And then the brain, which is not the mind, the brain, does its normal reaction. If you have an anxious brain, it does its normal reaction. You do not have to buy into that reaction. You could say, brain, I got this. Mind is in charge. The future self already told me it's fine. Everything works out. So I'm not going to worry about it. Future self knows that in 6 months, things are looking good for me. Can't talk about the rest of the world. You can actually do that for bigger things, but you got to wrap it around your own head first sometimes before you can explore it to other things in your life. So wrapping this around your head is like, okay, future self told me in the letter or in my head that I have the relationship that I want, that I have the business that I want, and in much detail as my future self told me, I know that that's to be true. So this is how scripting works, is that if I know that self to be true, I'm not going to worry about it. 2, I also know what that feels like because future self kind of embedded in me, embodied me, and it kind of showed me by stepping into me what it feels like to feel confident, what it feels like to be resilient, what it feels like to have more money in the bank and less stress and feeling really good about myself and feeling that resilience to doing things that one time I felt were uncomfortable. So the past me, so another way to look at this is the person that you are today. If you talk to yourself 10 years ago, it's the same thing, by the way. It's like a little trick. It's like a trip. It really is a trip. And it's a good exercise. So if you look at yourself 10 years ago, 10 years ago, you did not expect your life to be what it is today, good or bad. We're focusing on the good now. So all the things you learned in the 10 years to become the person that you are today, you have a lot of insight to tell that the person that you were 10 years ago. You have a lot of good stuff. You got a lot of, you may want to talk about the hurdles that you went to or the wonderful things like pets or moves or things that you were resilient on that you didn't realize you were resilient on until today, or how confident you are in comparison to where you were 10 years ago, 20 years ago. You get to pick the time. I just picked 10 years because it's a nice round number. But I hope you get what I'm saying. It's like future tripping or jumping into the future self that you desire to be. So if you don't want to do a big step of like, I want to be a millionaire or anything, because not everybody wants to be a millionaire, but just the whole purpose of using a dramatic desire is like, okay, I want more friends in my life. And in 6 months or a year or 10 years from now, my life will be very full of people that I get to see regularly on my timetable and theirs, where we're mutually beneficial times where we hang out and we're feeling good and the vibe is good, and maybe I have a relationship that's really amazing and loving, and we go out and do theater and movies and whatever the fun of the day is, or just sitting relaxing at home eating great food, playing games or whatever. That's a future self. And bringing that person to the present, that future you is saying, this is what my life looks like. And you might not see every how I got here, but I promise you I'm here. It's the same thing with you talking to your past self. I'm here. I've survived. I'm good. There are days that are challenging, but that's life. And 10-year past self, I was in Panama. Like, I'm talking about me, by the way. 10-year past life me, I ended a relationship. I was in Panama. I did not know what I was doing in terms of my life. If I could tell myself from the future to that 33-year-old what my life would be, she wouldn't believe me, but I would do my best to tell her how great and interesting and safe and fun and confident and interesting, like I said, and especially 2020. But like, I would tell myself of like, you'll be fine. You can handle that breakup. You can enjoy Panama as much as possible. I would have told her to do more things in Panama, but and the future self from where you are now will probably tell you to do more things that are fun, more things that make you feel good, more things that are outside of your comfort zone, get a little dirty, get a little messy. It's not going to hurt the future you by any stretch, by doing fun things or kissing that guy or going on that date. It's not going to hinder, it's actually going to help you get to that future you. And whomever that future you desire that future you to be, and bringing that into the present, because that's how you become the person that is confident and resilient, because you embody it in the moment and you can pull from each experience. I like to use role models, like in the, I guess last week's training, is that using role models is a way, if your brain can't wrap around the fact that you've already done this in your own life, which it has, if you're any age, whether or not you're 20 or 100, You've done this before. You just forgot that you've done it. And maybe you've lived in the idea that you don't deserve nice things, or that you're not worthy of things, or you're not worthy of your own positive self-regard because it means something about yourself. The future you has no qualms about telling you is that nobody got hurt in the making of you. Like, and in general, like, I don't you, these are generalizations, of course, so put it into your system, but like, if you are wanting to feel good about yourself every day, you do not have to prove to anyone that you're worthy of feeling enough. You do not. So you're just kind of using these exercises to prove to yourself that you're enough to have the confidence now, instead of having to slog through a lot of old programming that says you're not good enough, or whatever the stories are. Because growing up the way I grew up, I had a lot of stories that I had to kind of delete, recreate, restory, destory, as meaning anything from my life, or meaning that I couldn't be confident, or that I wasn't resilient, or that I wasn't enough, and that, like, being successful in any sort of way, whether it's romantically or friendships or business or work or life, has anything to do with the fact that, as a representation of my worth, which is not true. And any self consciousness or any buildup of old stuff is just old stories that, for whatever reason, I'm buying more into than the future or the desired self that I want to be. I don't, and for a long time, I didn't know why I bought them, except it's a lot of old programming that it's almost accepted to be unhappy. It's acceptable to decide that feeling self critical is a good thing. And the future confident self isn't self critical. It doesn't mean it's not self reflective, which, because the future self who's confident and resilient can catch the thought, and we'll go back into what we've talked about previously in the previous training. It's like, the confident self, the resilient self, will catch it when you're having a bad day and you're having a negative thought. Like, that's just my brain doing its thing because it's so used to this. Not giving it heavy weight, like, it means so much that I'm going down a dark corridor. No, you just can turn around, make a U-turn. It doesn't have to be so much drama around choosing a new thought. Choosing a new thought or a process, it can be simple. Now, are there feelings that you might need to feel and accept and release and forgive and move forward? Absolutely. But in terms of getting your mindset right, is that it's much easier to get your mind right when you actually believe that you are worthy of having what you desire, and that there's nothing wrong with wanting resilience. And wanting resilience is basically choosing it in the moment and saying, I'm going to be resilient even if it's uncomfortable, and just being resolved to that fact. I'm going to be confident even if I look like an idiot, because it doesn't mean anything. There is no right way to be confident. There's no right way to be resilient. There's no right way to be happy. You get to choose it all. And that's the craziest, wonderful, most chaotic thing around being a human, is that, wait, there's no playbook? I mean, there's steps, there's ideas, there's concepts, there's beliefs, but you have to it's all an experience, and how you focus your mind, and how if you're going to be nervous, accept that you're nervous. There's nothing wrong with being nervous. If confident people feel nervous all the time, they just don't always tell you. Resilient people do not mean that they don't have a bad day and then they're not crying in the shower. They just get up after the shower and continue moving forward. They just don't stay stuck. Resilient people get up. Whether or not the day getting up is the 5th day after a good cry or 1,000th day, they get up eventually. You can always get up sooner, but there's nothing wrong with how long it takes for you to get up. You'll feel better if you get up sooner and you decide, okay, I'm not going to wallow in this anymore. I'm going to choose being what will make me happy now. What feels good now? What can I do? So, for a final kind of helpful tip that I hope will encourage you to go forward, is that when you're building a new belief and you're using all these tools, you can always write in your journal to help you believe further. I choose to know and believe that blank is possible. I choose to know and believe that I am capable of having a conversation without being self-conscious. I choose to know and believe that I am confident. Maybe I wouldn't say the last line because you're basically reaffirming what you don't want. So we're kind of the whole idea of I choose to know and believe that I'm confident and resilient. I choose to know and believe that I get to be confident and resilient, even if I don't always feel 100% that way all the time. I choose to know and believe that I've done this in the past and I will do it again. I choose to know and believe that I get to choose my own happiness in the present moment. I choose to know and believe that you are amazing. I'm saying that to you. I choose to know and believe whatever statement you want to add in there to help you believe a new thought around anything that you desire. All right. I think I'm tapped. Maybe. Please comment any questions or feelings, thoughts, etc. Questions. I'll be here for the rest of the week. And I will talk to you soon. Peace.